Hello everybody and welcome back to VGR. Jacob here with a few bits of news coming right at you. To kick things off, we have the big and beautiful Last of Us 2 trailer revealed at the most recent State of Play. We saw more of the events following the 5-year time jump, an allusion to Ellie's potential lover, and another allusion to a not so happy ending. We also saw the man himself, the one we've all been waiting to see, Joel. And after the 5-year time skip, he is looking like he needs a shave. Honestly though, I'm here for salt and pepper bearded Joel. Keep it coming, give us more. And of course, Troy Baker on the mic is already giving us an immaculate performance in the role. With so much to look forward to and even more up in the air regarding story, gameplay, and just what we'll see from The Last of Us Part 2, we have managed to get a few concrete details, namely a release date, and I think it's much sooner than most people anticipated, certainly earlier than I did. We'll be able to get our grubby little mitts on The Last of Us Part 2 this upcoming February 21st. Yes, that's in 2020, just 4 months away. That feels absurdly close to me, but it also feels right. Like this is exactly what Naughty Dog should have done all along. It's almost like they know what they're doing? Weird, I know. And this release date feels pretty promising. As we know, Naughty Dog has a great track record, and Sony has an equally stellar track record for trusting its studios. Now, why does trust matter? Well, because if Naughty Dog says the game won't be ready until February, then Sony's not going to push it out the door any earlier than that. Subsequently, I'm sure that Naughty Dog has all the ample funding and resources they need to be able to get it out by a time that Sony will be happy with. Now, of course, this is all just speculation, but it is speculation based on a well-renowned track record. This is not an EA BioWare type of situation. This is not some aimless shamble toward an ambiguous release date and a roadmap. Oh, no. This is The Last of Us Part 2. Sony knows exactly what's at stake here, what is on the line. Not only their reputation as a publisher, but the reputation of one of their most, if not their most, prized studios in Naughty Dog. This, of course, is all just to say that February is indeed looking like the firm timeline, and personally, I couldn't be more excited. What about you? Does this give you enough time to prepare? Will your bank account ever recover from the hit? Let us know in the comments down below. Regarding the current state of the game and the state it will be in upon release, fans have received notice from Naughty Dog themselves that multiplayer will not be present in the game. This was, of course, quite disappointing, especially for those who really enjoyed the first game's multiplayer. The factions mode was well executed, and the moment-to-moment gameplay struck the perfect balance between the action and stealth the single player had done so well. It was surprising that such a strong multiplayer outing could be found in a primarily single-player, story-driven title. This just goes to show the strength and versatility that Naughty Dog has, and why it's so sad that they won't be flexing those muscles again. At least, that's true for the state of the game at launch. Naughty Dog has since taken to Twitter to say that they are indeed working on a factions mode, but it won't be in The Last of Us 2. Now, this is to say that it won't be in the game at launch, which they haven't explicitly said, but it could be inferred that several months down the line, the game mode will simply be added into the base game. Who knows, it could be a standalone title. Maybe it's DLC, maybe it's free DLC. Hell, maybe it's free to play. Naughty Dog can pretty much do whatever they want. They've got a free creative license too, and considering that they've let us know that they are indeed dedicated to working on factions as a game mode sometime down the line is encouraging to say the least. Now, next on the docket, we've got a little morsel of news regarding Death Stranding. Little, of course, in terms of the amount of news, but certainly not in the quality of it. Now, several days prior to this recording, Hideo Kojima took to Twitter to say how proud he was of the game, and how proud he was for all the hard work that he put into it. This was swiftly called out by Twitter users en masse, from gaming journalists to critics to fans in general. He was scrutinized for not handing out a lot of the credit to his production team at Kojima Productions. As far as that lone tweet was concerned, the devs, the artists, and everyone else went completely unrecognized. Now, Kojima was quick to turn around and thank all the aforementioned hardworking people who are plugging away to make Death Stranding a reality at Kojima Productions. But as far as I'm concerned, this kind of raises a broader question about the single figureheads who lead certain studios. An observable trend in the recent years of gaming has been less so a focus on the individual leaders of studios and more so on studios as a whole. Of course, there are exceptions, like Cory Barlog at Sony Santa Monica, like Hideo Kojima himself, like Sam and Dan Houser over at Rockstar. The list could go on. But is it still necessary for those people to represent their studios as a whole? If so, what is their place in the public eye? What should be their place in the public eye? Is Kojima out of turn for thanking himself for all this hard work he's put into founding the studio and creating the game? Or is he spot on the nose because he really is the man who started this initiative to begin Kojima Productions? While I certainly think that these leaders and studio figureheads have a place in the gaming landscape as a whole, I think it's important to learn from Kojima in this instance. Yes, it's true he doubled back and corrected himself, and that's all well and good. The people who got the proper credit they deserve did so, but it still feels like he should have been quicker on the draw. That should have, for all intents and purposes, been his first instinct, to go out of his way to thank the people who enabled his dream to become reality. Especially in today's landscape where you have things like crunch culture permeating every aspect of not only developers' lives, but now our lives, as we are much more privy to that information thanks to the efforts of hardworking investigative journalists, as well as those who are willing, able, and brave enough to speak out and advocate for what they feel is right. Now, of course, this may seem a little tangential, but it all comes back to giving credit where credit is due, and how that should be the first and foremost instinct and priority of studio heads and leaders, and how Kojima can potentially learn from this blunder going forward. It's minor, but it makes a big difference. But with all that said and done, the game has finally gone gold. That's right, Death Stranding has ceased its production, its development. It's done, finished, finito. It's ready to be shipped out November 8th of this year. Of course, this means a big celebration over at Kojima Productions and in the hearts of all the fans who are eager to get their hands on this title. And diving right into our last topic of the day, you may have heard some recent buzz around a certain recall. This, of course, is referencing the Fallout Power Armor helmet recall that has occurred over the last few days. Yes, that's right. It's another day and another round of bad press for Bethesda. They just don't ever catch a break. And yes, I know what you're about to type, that Bethesda didn't technically produce the helmets, that they had licensed them out to another company to do so, but still, this all comes back on the Fallout brand and Bethesda as a whole, so they're pretty much roped into this. Now, this recall of the Power Armor helmets has to do with the potential threat of mold exposure, just what everyone wants with something that they're putting right on their face and head. Now, at first the numbers weren't entirely clear, so people just jumped to the conclusion that every single Power Armor helmet produced of this variety was being recalled. That includes a total number of 20,000 units. Yikes. Of course, headlines and news outlets went absolutely berserk as soon as this story broke. I mean, 20,000 units, that's no small recall, especially when it's coming back to Bethesda, who, as we know, have had no small history when it comes to sketchy promotional deals. Now, this figure has since been corrected, and rightfully so. Yes, it's true that 20,000 helmets were sent to production, but the recall only affects those sold at GameStop. This amounts to a whopping, wait for it, drumroll please, 32 helmets. Yes, actually, a whopping 32 helmets. That's what all the fuss, hubbub, and hullabaloo was about. And when compared to 20,000, that somehow doesn't feel like a lot. Heck, it doesn't even feel like a lot when not compared to the original figure. 32 is nothing. And yet, I still have the sneaking suspicion that this doesn't come down to numbers. This again comes back to how it affects Bethesda and how it looks for them as a whole. When lumped in with things like the plastic Nuka-Cola rum bottles and the supposedly canvas, oh guess what, they're actually nylon bags in the Fallout 76 Collector's Edition, it's not a great look for Bethesda. I want to say this year can't get much worse for them, but between this and their continual screw-ups with the microtransaction economy in Fallout 76, it just feels like they're missing the mark on all fronts, which is not what I want to be reporting. Now, I think most, if not all of us, do want Bethesda to succeed. I mean, at their core, they're responsible for some of the most revolutionary and iconic games of all time. And yet, I still can't help but wonder and worry of what the future of the company holds. And come to think of it, this is actually really making me second guess that cloth Dovahkiin mask I got at PAX back in 2011. I gotta make some calls. But until I get around to that, I suppose I'll just stick around here at VGR making some content for you guys to browse every day. What do you think about the absence of The Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer? Are you excited for Death Stranding or just a little bit weirded out? And do you think Bethesda can ever return to the glory days of old? Let us know down in the comments below, or find me on Twitter at JacobIsHungry and let's continue the conversation there. Until then, I've been Jacob Smith, and this has been VGR. Thanks so much for tuning in.